Well, I mean, I think the fact that it's a record means a lot to the people that love it. I think, you know, it deserves to be celebrated, and I think also we can't fucking believe it's been 10 years, you know. It's like, I've basically spent my whole, you know, adult life in this band, you know. So I basically went from school straight into the band and didn't really have a chance to even think. So, you know, I can't express how quickly the time has gone by, you know, it's just insane. Because when we started the band, me and Tom were, you know, we were only like 18, so first record, not only was it our first time in a band, but we never even had an extended period of writing, you know. It was kind of like, we started playing gigs and people were booking us for other ones, and it really was, I mean, it was beyond a blur, like things were just happening so quickly that we never, the first record is like a document of the first year of being a band. But then with the second album, we had a chance to actually, I suppose, take a little time away and write what maybe felt more like a, you know, like a, I suppose like a body of work, like a, something, you know, like one cohesive piece. Really not thought about at all, and sometimes I wish that we were the kind of band that could do things like that. Like, you know, like we could sit down and plan what we're going to make a record like and whatever, but it's just never worked that way for us. But I think when we wrote a song called 3 Decades, it felt that was basically us trying to do a kind of horrors version of Here Come the Warm Jets by Brian Eno, and it's, I think, you know, we basically, when we found that song, it felt like a new kind of sound that made us excited to write a load more. A group of friends and you're all learning about music and you're kind of in that real sort of enthusiasm period, you know, where it's like everything's new and exciting, whatever. You know, it's almost like you kind of spur each other on to get deeper and deeper into it. So it was more like we were listening to, you know, Reese had this club night called Junk that we used to go down to in Southend, and it was like hearing a lot of those new wave bands and like no wave bands like James Chance and DNA and all that noisy stuff. You know, it kind of, and hearing them in that context, like, you know, late night in a club, when in London you didn't really get that very often at the time. So I think it was more just like, we were just excited about, first of all, the fact that we had the chance to sit down and write, you know, for the first time, like, you know, sit and write and do nothing else. And also just that we were getting into all these great records that we hadn't heard, you know, like we hadn't heard Noi and things like that. I mean, so we have the beginning of Sea Within a Sea. People occasionally tell us sounds like Mother Sky by Can. So at that point, we'd never heard Mother Sky, you know, and it's weird because it sounds exactly the same at the beginning. You know, it's got like even like fucking like the, you know, the like the octave bass and the hit on the toms, whatever. It's like, but yeah, complete accident, you know, and it's just one of those weird things like when you create. I guess maybe when you create similar conditions to how something was written, you end up with something similar. But yeah, it's a weird one. Well, we gave Jeff a nervous breakdown. I mean, Jeff actually had to leave at the end. Like, he had to kind of leave the last bit because he was like, we were driving him nuts, you know. And like, it was stuff like, he heard our demos and he was really insistent that what we absolutely had to do was recapture the demos. And we were thinking, okay, we're going to work with Jeff Barrett from Portishead. He's going to turn us into Portishead. He's going to do all this stuff. But in hindsight, he was completely right. Like, he didn't want to change our sound. He just wanted to record us in the best way possible. And I think it takes a really special producer to recognize what a band needs rather than, you know, what might be best for the producer, you know. And he didn't try to alter our sound. So yeah, I think the best thing that Jeff gave us by his own admission was probably the confidence to stick with what we had. Chris was really like a massive, I mean, Chris is still, you know, someone that I really admire and, like, you know, really one of the most talented people I've met. But with Chris, what he really helped me with was with vocals and kind of vocal delivery. So I would go around to his house and we would sit and try the vocals in different ways, and he was really obsessed with getting a certain type of tone and like timbre in my voice, and he was so kind of like, you know, single-minded about it, you know. We did it so much, and I think that I learned so much from that. I mean, he just has a great ear. I mean, people don't think of him as a musician, but first of all, he does amazing music that he doesn't even play to anyone, you know, which is just like, you know, it's almost painful. It's like you want to, you know, it's so great, the stuff that he's done. And I hope he does release it at some point, because it's just, you know, it's just brilliant. But yeah, I think doing a lot of those songs with Chris at his house, I think I learned a lot. Because, you know, I had to learn to sing through being on stage, you know. It was like, the first album was really aggressive and raw, and it was all about, you know, like energy and spontaneity, and that's kind of, you know, I had to learn, you know, in the spotlight or whatever. Because people say that, but it's kind of revisionist, because it's like, at the time we were getting really good reviews, and the album had okay reviews, pretty good. Some people didn't like it, some people did, whatever, but that's kind of what you'd expect for that kind of record. And we didn't really feel like it was the case that no one liked our first record and then we came back with something else. I think it was more like, it felt like we'd surprised people, but we were confident because we felt like we'd done a record that we were really proud of, so it was kind of the reaction. I think when you do something and you're 100% happy with it, or as close as you're ever going to get to 100%, you know, you have a kind of security that means that there's not really anything that anyone's going to say that is going to, you know, alter that. But, you know, obviously we were happy with how it was, how it went down with people. I think I think that record means a lot to people, and you know, that's like a kind of, it's a special thing that bands don't always get. There's always stuff that you could change, as in even stuff like, you know, lyrics, like for example, occasionally, I mean, there are not really any examples I can think of, but generally speaking, it's like, you know, sometimes you leave things in, you think, okay, I could have altered that, but in the end, a record is, you know, the second it's done, it's gone, you know, it's like, I don't really believe in that. I think when it's done, it's just, is in the past and you think about what's coming next. It's not. It's almost like the second you finish it, it doesn't belong to you anymore, and you have to accept that. You know, it's like it's gone into other people's heads and they've taken something else from it. You know. I think it goes back further than that though, because I think I hear a lot of those things on The Strange House. I mean, there's a song on Strange House called A Train Roars, and that was the first time that Josh and I had kind of experimented. We kind of built this drum machine. It was like, there was like a click track. We put a contact mic against some toms and a kick drum, and then we put a click track through it so it would vibrate the skins, and it gave this kind of weird sound. And we'd never been in a studio before, so we didn't know about any of that stuff. And it was like, you know, it's like when you discover the possibilities, like that, all these things that you could do, and you get all these ideas. Like those are the best moments of being in a band, or the best moments of being creative. You know, like when you find these other things that just open up a whole world to you. You know, so I can hear where all those things began. You know, on our first record, really. It's impossible to say. I mean, it's so like, I just don't want to be bored, you know. It's like I just always want to avoid boredom, and that's kind of what motivates me. I just want to, you know, I found what I love doing and I want to do it, you know, and that involves, the reason the records are different is because we get bored, you know, and that's why I do other things as well, because like, I just want to do new things all the time, really. I don't really want to know what will happen next. I think that would be, for me, that's my idea of hell, like knowing what's going to happen every day, you know, for the next year. Like I don't want to, like, I don't want my years planned out, you know. I like the uncertainty, you know. That's kind of the thing that I find fun.